As I've begun taking various requests from straw besties on videos you'd like to see, one idea has always caught my attention given how much it's brought up. What would Red Velvet solo releases look like if I was a part of the team? As my audience grows, a desire to see more of my vision rises as well. I always get uneasy thinking about this, worried I wouldn't live up to the original project and thus disappoint everyone in the process. Rather than do a full episode of Nini the creative director, I think I'm going to sit down and explain how I would proceed with the projects we have now. I did this before with my How to Fix Kepler and Cherry Bullet video but never followed up with more casual creative direction commentary, which I do feel is needed given the demand. So first of course we have Wendy, who debuted with her mini album Like Water in 2021. The title of the project speaks for itself. Like water speaks to things falling into place nationally for Wendy, much like water does when the rain settles. It represents inner peace and serenity, turning a tide and bidding adieu the rough seas that Wendy had to endure. Despite the success of the project, Wendy has expressed recently a desire to head in a different direction sonically that closely aligns with R&B. As someone who preferred Why Can't You Love Me? And her solo rendition of Light Me Up, this news has me championing her battle, hoping that she'll be able to argue her case for the shift. With that in mind, I would want Wendy's comeback to serve as a prequel to Like Water. I'd love to witness the turmoil she faced, sinking into the deeper state of isolation she must have went through before that initial emotional freedom from healing. An R&B album would be perfect to showcase a much more raw and potentially darker side to Wendy, transitioning out the more fluffier image that came from her debut. For starters, even though this is a prequel, there has to be a proper transition from the debut to now, and one way I would begin is with the weather. In Like Water, it's raining lightly before the skies become clear, which lines up with Wendy's growth throughout the project. Since this is a prequel, I would make our starting point be a coastal thunderstorm, which is much more intense and speaks to inner turmoil. I'd organize a mood sampler featuring a flooded attic and Wendy's personal belongings floating aimlessly. The attic's location in a home is a great way to represent the head or brain of a person, as it's to the top but right below the roof. Her personal belongings being swept up in the water is a great branching point for the themes of the album. We have this idea of damaged goods, how her belongings being soiled can speak to how she views herself now. Then we have this acknowledgement of the belongings being damaged and how she'll never be able to regain those items to its original form. That comes with the emotional baggage of the memories attached to said belongings now feeling robbed from her, that attachment to something physical capturing these moments in her life now gone. I really love this idea of damaged photographs, water stains and even complete erasure of Wendy in them. It represents her struggle concerning her identity, how the mirror will now reflect a different person than what she had grown to see over the years. It's not all depressing though, as this also represents a chance to leave it all behind and start fresh. There's a lesson about letting go of the past to create your future. Although it's painful to leave her past behind, maybe this was a blessing in disguise. For the color palette, let's go with darker tones of blue with a vibrant, rosy red, white and mint. Blue is a given as it's her representative color and of course, featured in her debut. Deepening the shade gives the audience a sign that the story featured will be much more gloomier and depressing, compared to the lighter shade of blue from Like Water. Red represents danger. It'll crop up in more vulnerable moments for Wendy and cuts through the cool tones, giving a nice contrast in the composition. Mint is an oddball choice, but it derives from the muted shade of green that is spotted on photos that have water damage. I'd love to see a pairing between a dull shade of green and blue somewhere in the mix here. White comes with angel and ice imagery that will also be featured in the rollout. For typography, we're going to take heavy inspiration from Carolyn Pollock's Pang. I love the very whimsical, vintage feel that Timothy Luke created with the type, and I think it would suit this album well. For Wendy, we'll be adding more dramatic swashes to the lettering to convey the fluidity of the water. The lettering will be in the aforementioned color palette, but I also love the idea of utilizing gradients, preferably something silver on these. For the concept, I have a lot of ideas. Like stated, water is used to show a passage of time in her debut, and I think I'd love to continue that, but in a different way actually. Using seasonal weather, we can showcase a passage of time and thus Wendy's psyche through the concepts. First concept is thunderstorms, the starting point being summer where most happen. For this, I want the concept photos to feel very dewy, humid and sticky but still maintain a very gloomy presence. For styling, the pesta is a must for this set, and I'd like to see her hair long, dark brown and wet. This set represents the flood, the initial depression and Wendy being suffocated from the storm. In my head, there would be a shot of Wendy looking at the viewer through glass as she is surrounded by photos of herself that are stuck behind it from the water on the glass. Honestly, I would put her in a glass shower for the setting if it wouldn't be interpreted as too suggestive. I think a glass shower really nails the entire concept in an abstract way. The shower head provides the rain and the steam formed are the clouds. Some condensation on the glass, like are you picking up what I'm putting down? Then we move on to winter, which entails snow, sometimes even blizzards. This is to represent Wendy's demeanor becoming cold, her heart turning to ice. I'd immediately pin up her hair in a high ponytail with bouncy curls. I'd love for her makeup to be a bit outside her comfort zone, with either thin pencil brows or bleached eyebrows. I love the angel wings accessories new jeans wears for ASAP, and I'd love to see Wendy in something similar for this. I saw a really cute wing ear accessory on Etsy which really embodied what I was going for as well. I love that blue dress she wears in Like Water's music video. I would have something custom made that combines that fluffy look with a more ballerina silhouette, much like Feel My Rhythms styling. I had this idea of like a reverse frostbite, so her fingertips will be red to contrast with a more paler blue appearance. A very gritty idea I had was combining a ballerina shoe with an ice skater's blade. I feel like it would give a very uncanny look that really ties the more oddball nature of this set together. I'd have at least one shot of Wendy skating away on ice and a long trail of blood behind her. The point of this set is to show that no one is 100% frozen, and even the most cold heart bleeds when it's in pain. Next, I wanted something centered around the city for autumn, as when I think of fall I think of windy nights. I would have this set be in Seoul and a bar. Drinking is one of the many vices that some indulge in to soak up pain. It would be a great way to showcase Wendy drowning in her sorrow through a liquid that is of nature, but we oftentimes do not associate it with. For styling, I would immediately do office siren or office chic with a combination of Miu Miu's recent collections and some thrifted items. The outfit should feel very worn in contrast to runway ready. These concept photos will have the bright red lights cutting through the cool tones of the surroundings as stated. In the bar it could be an overhead light, and in the city, it would be the stoplights. Once again, this is to represent danger. Wendy is in the danger zone, she's losing herself. She is drowning. I'd have some desolate shots of her walking around the city, close to maybe 4 a.m., which is a dead hour for the streets. You really get this feeling of Wendy being completely alone and left to fend for herself. Spring is technically the finale, given that it transitions to Like Water. The reason why I made it spring is because Like Water's special package features flowers which are of course associated with the season. For this set, I wanted to directly reflect the plot of the album, which is Wendy going back in time to stop herself from self-destructing. I'd like a lot of mirror shots for this one, as it's a straightforward way to communicate a split between personalities. For the music video, I'd base it on Last Night in Soho, except Wendy is the one going back in time to save herself. Alright, that's it. I can't keep getting invested in my superior vision that I know will never happen. Whoa. Bye.